Hey, welcome back to Call the Damn Leads, the show by sales professionals for sales professionals. I'm your host, Drew B. Wilson. With more than 2 decades in sales, I've seen it, been through it, heard about it. Now I'm bringing it to you, my favorite people in the world, the sales community. Because let's be honest, this is the greatest job on earth. Doesn't matter where you come from, what background, what personality type. You can create an amazing life in sales. And today's guest is no stranger to that journey. I'd like to welcome Marc Pickren to the show. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing great, and I need to know if I get a hat for being on the show today.
Ooh, you're the first person that's asked me for a hat for being on the show. Definitely email me afterwards. I think we can find something to work out for you, Marc. And I appreciate the support, man. This movement is just transparently our goal is that by the year 2030, we are in every airport across the United States on at least one person's body or bag. Because we have keychains, wristbands, hats, t-shirts, all the fun things. So if you help us create and get one step closer to that movement, I would love to share a hat with you. And I'm very excited to have you here, man. I want to jump right in and I want to hear your crazy sales story.
Yeah, so I thought a little bit about this, and I've been in a position to have upwards of 450 sales team members at one point. Most recently, though, we had at a company that I was in charge of being a turnaround CEO of. To give you an idea of what that means, the company had burned through $42 million of invested capital, was losing 50% of its customers every year, had a CLTV or customer lifetime value to the cost of acquiring that customer of 1.4 to 1. And was still continuing to burn $400,000 a month and had burned $400,000 a month every month for about 8 years. And in that situation, we were one of the oldest and the last remaining direct selling organizations. And so a lot of people don't really know what that means. And a direct selling organization is old school. Salesforce brings up a lead, you hit the dialer, you send an email, and basically you're able to go through and make 150 dials a day. And oftentimes, you're starting out your career in sales. The beautiful thing about an environment like that is that you can watch literally. We had a gentleman, I'm not going to say his name, but he came on board with the company, and his former job was as a roadie for the Wu-Tang Clan. So basically, this guy is amazing. He reached a certain age and just said, "Oh my God, my lifespan on being a roadie probably doesn't go past 40." And so I need to figure out how I'm going to support my family and make those decisions. That's the important thing about sales, is that people reach a certain point in their life. Maybe they've been a restaurant manager, which is a great position, but ultimately maybe they don't see that upward mobility in terms of income. And I think that everybody's kind of target is that $100,000 to $150,000 range, or at least it used to be, is kind of that should be kind of like where you're targeting your career at. And At that rate, it allows you to make decisions, right? Like maybe you're involved in a relationship and you've been holding off on that marriage or that proposal or moving in together. Maybe you've been putting off that bucket list trip that you've always wanted to do. All of those types of things. Maybe buying a house. I know that that's kind of out of everybody's range these days, but maybe that's always been something you've been looking for. And the ability to supply the training and the mentoring to be able to get people to move up that income ladder it's not everything income, but it's super important. So we kind of faced a unique situation, right? COVID. So how do you take 120 salespeople that are used to coming into an office every day, sitting in an open environment and having a team lead and a manager who are basically helping you all day long to parrot conversations, to do daily trainings and stand-ups? How do you take that environment and then all of a sudden one day nobody's at the office anymore? Which, by the way, I caught a lot of slack in the press because I fought till the very last moment. Maybe that wasn't the right decision, but it was the right decision at the time. And it was just because that mentoring, like, how do you do that? So this is maybe a hot sports opinion, but, we went to what we called an accountability framework. And a lot of people may sound like this is micromanaging to the nth degree. But if you really think about it, we knew that if our teams put in 6.7 hours of productive sales activity every single day, that they would be able to move up that income ladder. It was proven. Yep. You literally come in, you follow the playbook, you're going to get there. And so what we did is, in order to help folks to really understand what they were doing during the course of the day, was we actually set up different credits of time to different activities that were all meant to be building towards building their pipeline and meeting their quota for the month. And so we came to that number of 6.7 hours that we knew that if everybody came in and put in 6.7 hours of productivity, that they would be able to move up the income ladder. And what happened was, basically, as an organization, we had to go through some layoffs, unfortunately. And what we did is we took people that were in the sales team or on the sales team that hadn't quite yet been able to prove themselves, but they were able to provide value. They knew how to sell value. We moved them into customer success, and we actually built that team up so that anybody that called up with potentially a complaint or a question, we would have a trained salesperson that would really understand the value of the product and be able to explain that to them. And so we actually reduced the size of our overall sales team to about 72 people, but our efficiency was up over 120%. And if it weren't for those guys and gals, we wouldn't have been able to successfully sell that company 3.5 years later, after my management team came in, for a strong multiple of ARR. And when we sold that company, we were generating around $4.9 million of EBITDA. And obviously our CLTV to CAC had gone from the 1.4 to almost 3.5. And so I don't know if that's the sexy story, but there's a million of those first stories that go into how we were able to accomplish that. And ultimately, when we did eventually move back into the office, it really was less of a transition back to kind of that collaboration and that mentoring in the organization. And so since then, I've been doing the turnaround thing. And really what I found is that, in each of those turnarounds, I kind of took little playbooks that had worked previously and kind of built my own playbooks. And let's be honest, like, in the realm of B2B sales today, like, who the hell do you call? Nobody has that Cisco phone. Remember the old 7290 that sat on your desk? Like,
I had one of those, the Polycom IP 335 or whatever it was.
Yeah,
too. Like, yeah, buddy. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So what do you do when nobody has a desk phone? And in fact, I was talking to a previous mentor of mine that's in their 80s now. And they were like, well, send them a letter or go visit the office. And I was like, dude, there's no more offices. Like, what would somebody do walking into an office and saying, hey, I want to talk to Bill? The person at the front desk would probably completely freak out. And so, or if there's anybody at the front desk, you'd probably just wander around inside the lobby. So we've just been really focused on, and I've been started like last May, in terms of just like really trying to solve some of the core challenges that these sales teams are facing. And to basically look at AI in the proper way, and to do a lot of the testing of all the wrapper products, and to run through all of that so that we can communicate what actually has some promise versus what it delivers, versus it just being another kind of AI BS product that by the time you get deployed on it, onboarded, it's already outdated. So anyways, that was my hot sports opinion. That was my story.
There's a lot of layers, a lot of things I want to pull out of this, Mark, because it's so, sales is the greatest job on earth, in my opinion. Now, there's a lot of great jobs out there. Don't get me wrong. Everybody's built different. But I've heard the phrase, it is the hardest $50,000 a year job you'll ever have. and the easiest $200,000 a year job you'll ever have. And where I think that really comes from is, you had kind of touched on this, but what are you doing to be productive? And most people have zero idea. They show up, they spend 8 hours at work, but they're really only doing 2 to 3 hours worth of work every day. And one of the first things that I install when I come in to work with a company and help turn around a sales team, because we have very similar, business models, is I look at, how many calls are they making a day? Because I can tell you right now, if they're not making at least 100 outbound calls a day, that's the number one thing right there that's saying why you're not growing at the rate you want to grow. And the math is simple, right? You open up Salesforce, you open up HubSpot, whatever CRM you're using, you pull a lead, you dial the number, you let it ring, you get an answer, you don't get an answer. Sometimes you leave a voicemail. These days I don't leave a voicemail because most people don't check them, so I just send them an email or a text follow-up right after. You disposition the lead, you move to the next lead. It's a 2 to 3 minute process, right? Especially if you have a slow internet connection, could take even longer. If you're doing that 100 times a day, the math is the math. That's like 4 to 5 hours of productive time just doing the calls. That's not even talking to somebody for 15 to 20 minutes to set the next appointment or close the deal. And it's all about organizing your time for productivity so that you can have the conversations you need to have in order to close more of those sales. So I absolutely loved the micromanagement to the nth degree. Like, some people hate that, but at the same time, it's what creates accountability in a sales team to allow them to be successful. And the people who make the most money in sales, they are absolute savages when it comes to picking up the phone and having conversations, or going and meeting with people and having enough conversations. Like, everybody does it a little different, right? There's no one way only to make sales successful. But it comes down to, what actions are you taking on a consistent basis and how are you measuring them? And I can tell you, I've been also a part of some of those hard conversations where it's like, listen, we like you. We think you're a great team player. You fit the culture, but you're not doing the work to be successful in sales. So we have two choices. We can let you go completely, or we can shift you into a service-based position where your sales skills will still shine, but you're not going to make as much because you're going to be focused more on serving customers. So they're the ones that typically get the bigger base. Maybe they get a little bonus on different things that they do. And so what I'd be curious about, because again, you've seen the gamut, you've run through the good, the bad, the ugly, and everything in between. Like, what do you think of, what part of scaling a company are most people missing?
I think first and foremost, so this is kind of the line of conversation to where, if I'm at a social event and I corner someone, they start glancing at the exit and or automatically discover that they have to use the restroom or find their significant other. But I think number one, it's helping people generally to take a step back and understand how their lives have been changed through the internet super system, the mobile super system, and now we're in the AI super system. And let me elaborate on that just a little bit. There's some facts out there that between 197 and 244 interruptions a day on our mobile phones that have nothing to do with business. So we've become this idea that we can multitask, when in actuality, it's proven that humans can't multitask. Now, women do it better than men. That's a fact, but nobody does it well. And so the challenge is you have to kind of think in terms of your day. How many times? I mean, if you add that up, I think it was published that in 2022, the average white collar employee in the United States worked 32 hours a week. And then you just brought up the other point. If we have 2 minutes per interruption, we're getting hundreds of interruptions a day, non-business related. That takes it down to about 27 hours a week. So we keep kind of weeding away our productive time with all of these things that we have become. We're not equipped. We become nodes on the machine. And so I think a lot of it has to do with people generally like taking a step back and not just defaulting to the qualities of being a human, but understanding how we have all of these more or less attacks on our humanity from all of these devices, and that we've been trained to be nodes on the machine. And so a lot of folks don't want to hear that. They get upset, and that's why people run for the door when I kind of corner them. But
accountability is a real thing.
It's not that I'm anti-human. It's just that I want human beings to take stock of truly what their individual days look like, and what are they generating in response to the income that they're being paid by their employer, and then how do they get themselves to that next level. And really it's about having a majority of the people that you're working with have what I call being down for the mission. And down for the mission is kind of like, let's take two different team members, right? So let's say I pull Sarah over and I say, Sarah, I've got this really important thing. We just had something blow up in Salesforce. We're trying to do a workaround. Can you help, the team to try and figure out a workaround for this, because it's really impeding our ability to be successful. And then you have Mike, and I go to Mike and I have him do the same thing. So I'm going to pick on the boy. So Mike goes back to his teammates and he says, can you believe that jerk Pickren? He just asked me to get involved in this Salesforce project and all this other stuff. And I mean, that's not even what I do. And then everybody around him starts going, yeah, that Pickren's a total jerk. And then the entire team is literally just been brought down like 10 levels. The productivity and the production of that day and the vibe just got completely taken out of the entire team. Now you have Sarah, who goes back and she gathers around some of her teammates and she says, hey guys, Pickren just gave me this thing. I'm not entirely sure what we need to be doing about this. Do you guys know anybody in the company that can maybe help out on this? And maybe you guys can help me. And everybody starts pitching in on this project. And now all of a sudden, everybody's elevated. The vibe just went up, and everybody's like belief in the company and everything else has just been completely elevated by that one person's actions, whereas the other person's actions. So I think a lot of it comes down to problem solving, curiosity, doing some stuff on your own time. Like you really, in today's world, for people to say to me, hey, I'm only working 9 to 5, and so I'm not going to do this on the weekend. It's like, well, look at all the other crap that you're doing on the weekend that is absolutely deteriorating your life value as opposed to enhancing it. Why not just cut a few of those things out? A couple of scrolls on TikTok for 20 or 30 minutes and go actually look at something that can improve your career, that you can bring to the table as a problem solve.
Yeah, this is it's a big topic of conversation when I'm, working with teams too. Like time management. I mean, at the end of the day, sales is relatively easy, right? You got to ask good questions, you got to care about other people, and you got to be 100% confident in your product or service to deliver on the thing that person's looking for. If you can do those two things, after that, it's just output equals input. The more conversations you have, the more people you have the opportunity to help, the more offers you make. The more offers you make, the better you start getting at closing deals. The better you get closing deals, the more money you make. Like, it's a pretty cyclical process. Now, we've touched on AI a couple times, right? You mentioned being the node. Like, essentially, we're living in the matrix for all, lack of a better explanation of this thing. And so, with AI really changing business structure as a whole, what is something that a human in a business that's starting to adopt AI really needs to double down on so that they can maintain their value within the company and obviously the longevity of their position, maybe not just in that company, but just in sales as a whole?
I mean, it's kind of a dated book, but it's called The End of Average. And the thing that really struck me was kind of the opening paragraph, and I'm gonna butcher this, but I'm gonna give it my best shot. And it basically, the book itself kind of tracks artificial intelligence and intelligent machines as it relates to the game of chess. So chess is supposed to be the ultimate embodiment of, creativity and strategy and the human existence, right? And it kind of tracks how way back in the day, they used to bring in this huge machine and actually plug it into the wall and insert cards and have it try and compete against humans in terms of chess. Fast forward a few years, all of a sudden, those machines got smaller and it started actually being able to beat lower level chess players. And then as time evolved, now you find that they actually had to bifurcate tournaments to where there was humans versus AIs and humans versus humans. And then eventually we start to see that machines can compete. They're almost playing four-dimensional chess at this point if you're a Star Trek fan. And so the paragraph that opens up is, if you view intelligent machines cooperatively, so just the idea, just viewing them that you're going to cooperate with them and that they're going to become a part of your day-to-day existence. Now, thinking of that as the application to business, because this is a business podcast, so I'm not going to get into the personal side of it. But if you look at it in terms of the application of business, and then the other sentence is, if you view intelligent machines as competition, it's kind of game over. Now, my family's from Idaho originally, one side of it. So I say go buy a farm in Idaho. That's probably a better career track, not because there's nothing wrong with that, but it's literally weeding out people that, and it comes down to like problem solving. It comes down to curiosity. You mentioned something about like the simplicity of sales, but you said one comment there about having faith and a belief in your product. Well, if you find that you're getting some competitors that are, putting something into the market that you're constantly getting as a question or as a reason why people aren't moving forward with you, then document that and come up with an idea and go talk to your product team. Go talk to your CFO. The only way that product teams, like something like $160 billion a year is spent on software features that nobody cares about. $35 billion is spent by the American Cancer Institute on cancer research. So if you think about it, if you can build that bridge to the product team and you can be bringing in actual real world feedback from potential customers or customers, then you can help to create that next version of the product based upon what the market is giving you. And only sales and marketing are the folks that are actually out there recording responses to what that product offers and the value and the benefits. And so if there isn't a linkage to the product team, then your whole company is just running on a runaway train. Try saying that fast 3 times.
Yeah, I love that advice actually, because there's you see the people that are like, hey, the folks that are going to still have jobs over the next 10, 15 years are going to become prompt engineers. And it's because you know how to speak to the AI in a way that creates the result that you're looking for, right? You know how to leverage it for research. You know how to leverage it to do certain tasks that it can do significantly faster than what you could do as a human. And I'm a big believer in that. I don't think that it can replace humans in their ability to show empathy. I don't think it can replace tonality and cadence, at least not in its current iterations. As you said, it evolves really, really fast, and I'm sure at some point it will continue to get better. But I still think there's going to be a need for that human connection, and that face-to-face especially is going to be coming back. Over-the-phone sales is still going to be a big popular one all time, I think, in general. But learning how to use the AI as a complement to what you do versus seeing it as a competitor, I absolutely love that advice. I actually wrote down that book because I want to go and check it out, because even the old content is still filled with gems. and everything goes in cycles. So like that's why they say Warren Buffett reads the financial reports from the 60s and 70s even in 2025, because he's wanting to see what are the cycles, what are the trends. And Marc, I'm sure we could sit here and nerd out on this for like the next several hours together, because I've really enjoyed the conversation. I know you've got significantly more knowledge and information to share with our audience, but I want to be respectful of your time. So what's the best way for us to come find you, follow you, and check out more of this amazing content that you're sharing?
Yeah, so I've got about 100 clips on LinkedIn. These are usually about 8 to 12 seconds, and they've been kind of broken up in terms of virality. And a lot of it deals with sales. A lot of it, there's a lot of like some really interesting points in there that if you tell a customer that you're an AI, like if you have front-facing AIs in your company, make sure that you're honest with the user that, hey, I'm an intelligent machine working for this company. And oftentimes you'll find that the SAT scores are really high when you are honest with people. But to your point, intuitively, we know when we get a spam email or a LinkedIn comment that says, hey, Marc, how about those Utah State Aggies? Like, I'm like, dude, come on, like you just pulled that now. And so that type of stuff is so disingenuous and so obvious that you're doing more harm. And so anyways, I've just kind of planted my flag with LinkedIn, even though we could go on about the user experience. It's not great, but ultimately go to LinkedIn and just search for Marc, M-A-R-C, last name of Pickren, P-I-C-K-R-E-N. And I've been wanting to do this. So for the listeners, I'm going to do a post, and I'm going to post our kind of vibe reel of our old sales organization. And you're going to get to see what it looked like on a day-to-day basis, the hype, the loud music, the gong, and the whole vibe. And hopefully that maybe will serve for some of the folks out there to be like, okay, that's the type of energy that I need to maybe reset and bring to the table today.
I love that. Yeah, when you're in a room with the right people, having the right conversations, you got that vibe, that energy, it is literally transferable. Everybody in there's level goes up 20, 30, 40%. So I love that. And I'm honestly excited to come find you and follow you more on LinkedIn. We'll make sure we put the link to your page there in the show notes. And listen, if you guys enjoyed the show, go follow Marc. Share this specific episode on LinkedIn. Share it on social media platforms, whichever one you prefer, and tag us. Let us know you enjoyed it. Let us know you got some value out of it. Maybe even send it to someone that you know who sucks at this whole sales process, or they need a complete revamp so that their business doesn't burn through $400,000 a month in capital. Like, yeah. And make the time to put this out there, because Marc, we are truly grateful that you were able to find some time to share some of this with us today, man. This has been a great conversation.
Well, I appreciate it. And ask me any question, PM me. I mean, everything, I'm free to provide anything. There's no sales pitch, et cetera. I just want people I always say that this is my North Star. I want people to experience success on their own terms and not get left behind.
Absolutely love it, man. Listen, if you guys have a story like Marc's where you've seen some crazy things, you've been a part of some crazy things, I would love to have you on the show as a guest. Head over to callthedamnleads.com/podcast. Send us your details, schedule yourself for an interview. Let's put some more of this great content out into the world, because listen, once again, this is the greatest job on earth. No matter where you came from, no matter what your background is, your history, maybe you were even a roadie for Wu-Tang at one point. You can make an amazing life in sales, but you got to be willing to do the work, which means you guys know what to do next. Pick up the phone, call those damn leads. We'll see you guys next time.
Take care.